If you haven't heard the recent real estate news and you've been under a rock, well, let me tell you. Last weekend, President Trump issued a new proposal to help home buyers buy homes. And because it has been so difficult for many people to jump into the housing market because homes are just so unaffordable all across the country, President Trump is thinking of implementing a 50-year mortgage for home buyers where it will make housing more affordable for buyers. So with the 50-year mortgage, you would be able to make lower monthly payments because the loan term would be spread out over 50 years instead of what we currently have, which is the 30-year term and the 15-year term. Now, many people have thought that the 30-year loan term was already long enough, but now we could also probably have a 50-year loan term. So will this be a good option for you? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So right now in real estate, we have the two primary loan terms, which are the 30-year and the 15-year loan term. And most home buyers, and I think it's like maybe 90% of buyers prefer a 30-year, and this is the most common one because you have a lower monthly payment and they are spread out over a longer period of time. Now, you do pay more in interest, and the interest rate can be higher than a 15-year, but many people love it because the payments are lower and doable. Now, with a 30-year, you will be mostly paying on interest before you even tackle the principal, and that can take a long time. But this one is really appealing to so many home buyers because you get a smaller payment every month. Now, with the 15-year term, you get a lower interest rate, but you're making higher payments. But of course, you pay your home off in 15 years, which means you will start tackling the interest and the principal pretty fast. And who wouldn't want to pay their home off in 15 years? And if you can do a 15-year, this is the one I would say for you to shoot for. So this new proposal of the 50-year term, I can kind of see it being a good thing only if you really desire to be a homeowner really bad. And you're just tired of waiting around for the interest rates and housing prices to come down, and you're just really tired of renting. And I'll play devil's advocate a little bit later to tell you my opinion on why it could be a good thing. Now, way back when, like in the 1930s and 1940s, most home loans were very short-term loans, like maybe 3 to 5 years. Now, can you imagine paying a home off that quickly and being out of debt on a home in just a few years? But seriously, back then, that is how it was done. Back then, borrowers made interest-only payments, and then they had to refinance or repay the full principal amount at the end. So it was kind of like a balloon payment at the end of the loan term. Then the Great Depression happened and foreclosures skyrocketed and no one could really afford homes. So in order to prevent the housing collapse, President Franklin D. Roosevelt came up with a 30-year amortized loan term where buyers would pay on both the interest and the principal, and this would help families be able to afford homes. And that is what we still have here today. So now I'm going to share with you my thoughts on this new 50-year loan term and what you should think about if you are considering this option to buy a home. First, I think it's important to see with numbers if it really makes sense for you. So we're going to take a look by running some just real simple numbers. Okay, so let's say you want to buy a $400,000 home with a 6.25% interest rate for 30 years. You can expect your monthly mortgage payment to be around $2,463 per month. Now, this is only including the principal and your interest and not your taxes and insurance. And the interest that you would pay would be $486,680. So your overall payment, including the principal of the $400,000 price, would be $886,680. Now, if we look at the 50-year with the same price and the same interest rate, we are looking at a monthly payment of $2,199, and the interest you would pay is $919,400, and then you include the principal of the $400,000 purchase price of the home, which means you are paying $1,319,400 overall, and that is a lot of money. And look at the difference, you guys. It's only a difference of $264 in your monthly payment. So there's not that much of a difference. So now let's talk about some of the other concerns with the 50-year loan term. Hey again, it's me, Cherilyn Williams, your local Chicago area realtor. helping you build your dreams through real estate. And I hope you're really enjoying this video today and that you're taking away some real key and valuable information that can help you become a homeowner. And if you are looking for a realtor in Chicago and the suburbs, shoot me a comment or a message. My information is in the description. And don't also forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel for weekly real estate content made just for you. Thank you for your support. Okay, so let's look at some of the issues with the 50-year mortgage that I want you to be aware of. First off is that paying a debt for 50 years would be like for most of your adult life. So if you buy a home in your 20s or 30s, you will be making payments on your home until you are like in your 70s or 80s. And you know what? It's hilarious to me because someone made a comment the other day like, oh great, I'll be paying my home off just in time for me to die in it, which was such a funny comment. But you know what? There's really some truth to that. And you know, the stats say that the average age of a first-time home buyer today in 2025 is 38 to 40 years old because people are not able to buy homes because they're so expensive, and we're also dealing with inflation and our wages are not keeping up with inflation. And the age of becoming a homeowner keeps increasing every few years as homes continue to be unaffordable. Now, did you know that just back in 2019, 5 or 6 years ago, the average age of a home buyer was just 33 years old. And I believe I think it was like 10 years ago, it was like 28 years old. So this is a big change. So this means that a home buyer at 40 can expect to pay their home off when they're 90, if they even live that long. And wouldn't it be hard when you reach retirement age and you're on a fixed income and you're still having to make mortgage payments? And this is a time in your life when you should just be sitting back and you should be chilling after putting in all your hard work and time over the years. And this is why, in my personal opinion, the 30-year is the best loan because for many people, they can have their home paid off by the time they reach retirement age of 65. And you know, even with that, they're also thinking of increasing the retirement age to 67 for those of us born after 1960, but I digress. So I feel like this 50-year could be a real disaster, and retirement age people and seniors could risk losing their homes if they can't make their payments. Also, what goes in hand with this is if you, unfortunately, you pass away and you still have a loan on your home and your home is inherited by family members. Your family members would be taking on your debt, which just doesn't sound good to me. Another important thing is that you won't be building equity as fast as you would with the 30 and of course the 15-year loan term. Building equity will be a very, very slow process, which means you won't have much ownership in your home, and the bank will have more ownership in your home for a longer time than you. Even after 10 years, you might still owe over 90% of what you borrowed. And another thing that kind of worries me is if home prices fall, you could easily be underwater for your home, which means you owe more than what the home is worth. Now, of course, you could add, extra payments onto the principal during that 50-year loan term to build up equity faster and paying your home off. But just thinking about doing this for 50 years to me is just too much. Now, one thing you have to consider is the risks, not only to you, but think about the lender. Since you'll be paying the home off over a longer time, you will be more of a risk to a lender. And when you're a risk, that means that you can expect to have a higher interest rate than, what you would have for a 30 or 15-year term. And there may be other fees to compensate for that extra risk. Okay, so after all of these negative things about the 50-year term, let me play devil's advocate a little bit. And let's take a look at maybe one positive thing. The only thing that I can see as a positive in addition to the lower monthly payments is that you can begin with smaller payments, which is awesome. And then later on, if you want to get out of that long loan term, you can sell your home and you can upgrade, or you can refinance into a better loan term like a 30 or 15 year in several years. And what's a fact is that most home buyers usually just really only stay in their homes for like 7 to 10 years anyways, and then they move. So this can work out for you by having a smaller payment initially for the first 7, 10, 15 years that you live in a home. and then moving on or refinancing into a better loan term. But the drawback is that if you do this, you may not have as much equity to use to buy another home. But you know, when I look at this could be a great way for you to finally own a home instead of renting forever. And you know, I'm always thinking about, in the back of my mind, who is really benefiting off this? Will it benefit you, the home buyer, or is it really benefiting the banks? I want you to think about it, because the banks will be making a lot of money off of you for 50 years. Now, so in my opinion, I would stay completely away from the 50-year term. And personally, it would just be too much of a psychological stress for me. But everyone has their own tolerance level, and it really depends on what your goals are. But to me, I would recommend to just stick with a 30, 20, or 15-year term. But if you want to be a homeowner so bad enough and you just hate renting, then it could possibly work for you. But please talk it over with your lender, and please run your numbers carefully to see if it makes sense for you before you make a decision. So what are your thoughts? Would you take on a 50-year loan term? Tell me in the comments. And don't forget to check out this other video where I tell you why you shouldn't buy a home in an HOA. Thank you for watching.